Welcome to our YouTube channel Dream Dynamics.
What if I told you that worry doesn't actually exist? That the fear you're feeling about the future is just a trick of the mind? Bobby McFerrin sang "Don't Worry, Be Happy," and while it sounded like a simple feel-good tune, it holds a deep truth that the moment is all you truly need, and how to live with more peace, more lightness, and yes, more happiness. Stay with us, this could change the way you see life. Worry is something we all experience. It shows up when we lie in bed at night, eyes wide open, replaying conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios, trying to plan every detail of a future we can't control. We've come to believe that worrying is normal, even necessary, that it means we care, that we're being responsible. But what if that belief is the actual problem? Worry isn't seen as a useful habit. It's seen as a form of dukkha, suffering or dissatisfaction. And not just any suffering, but self-created suffering. The kind that arises not from what's happening right now, but from what might happen later. Worry lives in the future, and in doing so, it pulls us out of the present moment. The present is the only place where life truly happens. Everything else is imagination. Worry is not just uncomfortable, it's deeply misleading. It creates a false sense of control. The idea that if we think enough, plan enough, anticipate every possible problem, we'll be safe. Impermanence, anicca, is one of the core truths of existence. Everything is always changing, shifting, moving. No matter how much we prepare, life will always surprise us. Worry also arises from attachment, upadana in Pali. We cling to outcomes, to people, to situations going a certain way. And when our grip tightens, our fear grows. We fear losing what we have or not getting what we want. That fear feeds worry. It keeps the mind racing. Imagine a person walking through a forest who suddenly gets hit by an arrow. That arrow is real, it's painful. But then instead of treating the wound, they shoot themselves with a second arrow. That's worry. That's us. Every time we relive pain in our minds, imagine new dangers, or obsess over things beyond our control, the first arrow is life. The second arrow is our reaction to life. And while we may not avoid the first, the second is optional. Now here's the most liberating part. That if worry is something we create, then we can also uncreate it. Through mindfulness, sati, we begin to observe the mind. We notice thoughts coming and going like clouds in the sky. We stop identifying with them. We start to see clearly and calmly that worry is not something we are. It's something we experience. And anything that we can observe, we can release. When you sit in meditation and a wave of worry appears, the practice is not to fight it. You simply label it, worry, and then you breathe, and then you let it pass. In that moment, you're reclaiming your peace, not by fixing the future, but by returning to the now. So, what is worry? It's a habit of the untrained mind, a product of fear, clinging, and ignorance. And it is absolutely possible to live without it, not by pretending problems don't exist, but by seeing through the illusion that worry solves them. The more we train our mind to stay present, the more we see that this moment, right now, is not only enough, it's all we ever truly have. The mind's trap. How we create suffering with thoughts. The mind is a storyteller. Every day it spins narratives about who we are, what we need, what might happen, what we should fear. And most of the time we believe those stories. We accept them without question. The mind, when left untrained, becomes a trap, a source of confusion, fear, and suffering. Worry is one of the clearest examples of this trap. Think about it. No one chooses to worry. It just happens, right? One thought leads to another, and before we know it, we're 10 steps ahead in a future that doesn't exist, feeling emotions about situations that haven't even occurred. The endless cycle of suffering caused by craving, aversion, and ignorance. And worry sits right at the center of that cycle. The problem isn't that we have thoughts. The problem is that we identify with them. We believe everything the mind says. If the mind says something bad is going to happen, we tense up. If the mind says we're not good enough, we shrink. But here's the truth. Thoughts are just thoughts. They are not reality. They are temporary mental events, shaped by our past, our conditioning, our fears, and yet they shape our entire experience of life. There is a powerful practice called vipassana, clear seeing. It means looking directly at the nature of our thoughts and emotions. When we practice vipassana, we start to see how quickly the mind reacts to discomfort, how it tries to escape the present by jumping to the past or the future. We see how thoughts create stories, and stories create suffering. Here's an example. Imagine you're waiting for a message from someone important. An hour passes, and they don't reply. The mind starts spinning. Maybe they're angry, maybe you did something wrong, maybe something bad happened. In reality, nothing has happened. But your body reacts as if something has. You feel anxious, restless, upset. All because of a thought. That's the trap. To escape this trap, we don't fight the mind, we observe it. We create space between the thought and our reaction to it. When a worry arises, we don't have to follow it. We can see it, acknowledge it, and let it pass. That's where freedom begins. Through meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living, we begin to tame that elephant. We start to guide the mind instead of being dragged by it. And here's something beautiful. When we stop identifying with thoughts, our suffering begins to dissolve. We don't need to fix every problem, control every outcome, or plan every detail. We just need to be aware, moment by moment. In that awareness, worry has no power. It only survives when we're not paying attention. So yes, the mind can be a trap, but it can also be the path to liberation if we learn how to use it wisely. Living in the present, the real antidote. Let's take a moment, just a moment. Pause whatever you're doing, close your eyes if you want, and take a slow breath in and out. That breath, that's your anchor. That's the present, and it's always here. Always, no matter where your mind tries to go. Now think about how most of us live. We're here, but not really. Our bodies might be sitting, walking, working, but our minds, they're miles away. We're thinking about the message we haven't answered, the mistake we made last week, the deadline we have tomorrow, the conversation we're scared to have. Our thoughts jump ahead, trying to prepare for the worst. And while all of that is happening, we miss what's actually real, this moment. Right now. Suffering happens when we leave the present, when we resist what's here, when we wish it were different. And anxiety. Anxiety is the signal that we're living in a future that doesn't exist. We're arguing with life before it even happens. But what if we could stop doing that? What if we could train ourselves gently to stay here? Not forever, just for one breath, one step, one moment at a time. This is where mindfulness comes in. And no, it's not just sitting with your eyes closed for 20 minutes a day. Mindfulness is noticing. It's being fully awake to your life. When you eat, you taste. When you walk, you feel your feet touching the ground. When you listen, you actually hear. You don't rush to respond. You don't judge. You're just here, fully. And something amazing happens when we start living this way. The noise in our heads, it softens. The pressure in our chest, it loosens. We stop creating stories about what could go wrong. We stop building mountains out of tiny thoughts. We stop making ourselves sick with possibilities. And instead, we find presence. We find peace. You might be wondering, okay, but how do I stay present when life is so uncertain? The answer isn't to control life, it's to trust it. Being present doesn't mean everything is perfect. It means you're strong enough to stay with what is, instead of running from what might be. And here's something most people miss. When you're present, you make better decisions. You see more clearly. You respond instead of react. You breathe instead of panic. That space between thought and action, that's where your power lives. That's where your freedom is born. We don't have to live as prisoners of our minds. We can train ourselves to come back, again and again. No guilt, no rush, just return to the breath, to the body, to the now, because the truth is, this moment is the only place where happiness can live. Not in the memory of yesterday, not in the dream of tomorrow, just here. And here, in this quiet, ordinary moment, you'll find everything you've been looking for. So next time the thoughts start spinning, the heart starts racing, and the mind starts building its what-if tower, pause, place a hand on your chest, take a breath, smile even just a little, and say to yourself, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm enough. That's the real antidote to anxiety, not control, not perfection, just presence. Trusting life, the art of letting go. Letting go sounds simple, but if you've ever tried it, you know it's one of the hardest things to do. Because deep down, most of us carry a quiet fear that if we let go, things will fall apart. That if we stop worrying, we'll lose control. That if we stop trying so hard, something bad will happen. So we keep holding on to plans, to expectations, to people, to outcomes. We grip tighter and tighter, thinking it'll keep us safe. Trusting life is not about pretending everything's fine. It's about realizing that control was never the answer. That all the worrying, all the overthinking, all the desperate need to plan every detail, it wasn't protecting you. It was exhausting you. Because here's the truth, no one teaches us when we're growing up. Life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be lived, fully, openly, moment by moment. Let's look at nature for a second. A tree doesn't worry about when it's going to lose its leaves. A river doesn't panic when the current changes. A bird doesn't doubt whether the wind will carry it. There's trust built into the natural world, a quiet, deep trust in the flow of things. We're not separate from that flow. We are nature, we are life, happening in real time. And when we fight that, we suffer. When we resist, we contract. But when we trust, we open. You've probably felt it before, those rare moments when everything is uncertain but somehow you're calm. Maybe it was during a crisis, or a big change, or when you finally said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll deal with it when it does. That's trust. That's the art of letting go. And it's in those moments, strangely, that we feel the most alive. But to get there, we have to confront some very old habits. We have to unlearn the belief that worrying means we care, that planning everything means we're responsible, that being in control means we're strong. Everything is impermanent, a nicker, that nothing lasts forever. And when we truly see this, not just as a theory, but as a lived experience, something inside us shifts. We start to hold things more lightly. We stop trying to grip every outcome. We begin to understand that peace doesn't come from certainty. It comes from presence. It comes from surrender. Now, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in, not to defeat, but to wisdom. It's saying, I will do my best, but I will not destroy my inner peace trying to control what I cannot. It's knowing that life is bigger than you. And that's not scary, that's beautiful. Because when you stop being the manager of the universe, you become a participant in it. You start to trust that you are being carried, even when you can't see where. And here's where the deepest freedom lies, in releasing the illusion of control. Not once, not in a single moment of clarity, but again and again, every day, every breath, every time fear shows up and says, "You're not safe unless you control everything," and you respond, "No." I choose to trust instead. Trust in the unfolding. Trust that what's meant for you will find you. Trust that you'll know what to do when the time comes. And if you don't know, trust that not knowing is also part of the path. This kind of trust isn't passive, it's deeply alive. It moves you to act when action is needed, and to rest when rest is right. It's not about being lazy, it's about being aligned. It's about learning to listen to your body, your breath, your intuition. It's about learning to let go, not because you've given up, but because you're finally waking up. So how do we begin? Start small. Notice when you're trying to control. Notice the tension in your body, the tightness in your thoughts. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I let go just a little? Then let go a little and see what happens. Maybe the world doesn't fall apart. Maybe instead something beautiful happens. Maybe you feel lighter, more open, more free. With time, you begin to see letting go isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the beginning of a new relationship with life. One that isn't based on fear, but on trust. One that says, whatever comes, I can meet it. Not with panic, but with presence. Not with resistance, but with grace. To stop clinging, to start trusting, to let life be life, and to let yourself be free. Maybe Bobby McFerrin was onto something deeper than we thought. Don't Worry, Be Happy isn't just a catchy tune. It's a doorway into a powerful truth. Worry doesn't protect us. It doesn't prepare us. It only disconnects us from the one thing that's real, this moment. And in this moment, right now, there is peace. There is breath. There is life. Let's stop giving our energy to what hasn't happened. Let's stop letting our minds take us places our hearts were never meant to go. If this reflection resonated with you, if it made you pause and think differently, then you're already on the path. Keep walking it with us. Subscribe to the channel so we can keep exploring these teachings together.